So I'm going to start today's material planning and production management presentation in the calculate quantity produce purchase dashboard. What this program does for the entered material planning code, we'd go through all the transactions that are in the system and will display all the actions that need to be taken for the items that are part of the material planning and production code. So here are some items loaded in the dashboard. For the items loaded, it will show you the quantity on hand, on sales orders, back order, purchase order, on work order, required for work order. So this is if required for work order if it's basically a component, and a work order if it's a finished good being produced. Material record planning run requirement would show you the impact of all the transactions that are displayed, all the demand that is displayed on this dashboard. What will be the impact of those on those items? Of course, the system has the ability to take into account the reorder point, economic order quantity, and show the calculated demand based on that information. So items are loaded into the dashboard based on the filters entered here. You have the ability to enter material planning and production code, which is a field we've added to the inventory screen. Here we material planning code we've added to the inventory code. There you also have the ability to see the requirements for a given ship date. So if you want to see what actions you need to take to ship all the orders that are in the system with a ship date of the end of the month or the next Friday, you'll be able to put that date in, and the information that is displayed on the screen is for those orders. You can do the demand calculation at the item level or the warehouse level. You have the ability, once you determine that what items you need to take an action on based on the ship date entered, take into account all the other information for those items selected due to the ship date by taking into account the reorder point and so forth. So the information is displayed here. You have the ability to do your due diligence. You have the ability to drill down to the inventory, see the activity for the transactions and so forth. You have the ability to, if it's a bill of material items, look at the components used for that item. Of course, we've added buttons here. For example, if you want to look at the item inquiry from here or the MRP inquiry, all the other work orders for that item, you have the ability to do that. If it's an item that is a sub-assembly, you have the ability to look at the values. What are all the different products that this components is used in? If it's a purchased item, you have the ability to look at the vendor information, who you purchase it from, and so of course, if it's an item that is manufactured via using a mold, you have the ability to view the mold information, the different molds that are used for different machines. If the mold is shared, you have the ability to tell it which item is the master item, which items are the slave items. You could see if that mold is being used right now in a work order. Once you go through and finalize the demand, for example, if you decide you want to produce 200 of these after you look at the item, you can check what actions you want to take. So if you want to manufacture 20 of this item, and then if you wanted to purchase some items and you could click there. And the system is smart enough, so when you click on generate purchase order, it would create a purchase order for the items that are buy. And then it would, once you click on generate manufacturing, it will create manufacturing work orders. So when it comes to generating manufacturing work orders, you have different options. One of the things you could do is you could just generate work orders, and on the scheduling board, drag and drop the steps of that work order from one machine, from one day to another. You have the ability to auto schedule, and the system will go through based on the shifts and the machines that are defined in the routing with schedule. Or you can just finalize the quantities, and then on the scheduling board, drag and drop the items and create the work orders. So a few things I'm going to point out before I create work orders. One is that we've added the routing processing, which to Sage 100 system, which allows you to create manufacturing steps. So you can define the duration for all the non-mold operating steps here. And if the item, the manufacturing step of the item, the duration of it is defined based on the settings in the inventory record for that item. So if I bring up an item, you would see that that item, we've identified that it's built by one of these two molds. There's a queue time, setup time, and this is the quantity produced per hour. So the system would use this information to auto schedule. We had a planning code which could be used for filtering what items you want to take an action on. Priority code, you could sort the items displayed by priority code on the scheduling dashboard. And of course, items could be made to stock and made to order. And when you do auto scheduling, made to stock items get a higher priority. So we add to Sage's bill of material and distribution module the ability to generate work order steps. Work order steps are created based on the routings that are linked to bill of material items. So if I go back to my scheduling board, I'll be able to see the transactions that are in the system. And if I go back to my dashboard, I will be able to, as I said, either generate manufacturing orders right from here or click accept here. And if I click load, and the system would show me the quantities that I've basically decided on 220, and I can drag and drop the item and create work orders based on that schedule date and the steps that were needed, and it will open up the work order. So the system created three transactions based on the routing that I had defined, and the step that is coded as manufacturing would contain the inventory items. So if I come here, I'll be able to see the items that are loaded here for the production of the item, and the duration of the production would be set based on the settings. Now, if I close the work order, and I can do that either by clicking on the closed here, or I can just from the program, there's a program that I can just enter the item, the Bell 2500, and it basically goes through and it knows what work order was in the system for that item. And in this case, we have two of them. We'll bring both of them up. I can select one. But if there was only one, then the system would let you just click and load the information in the daily production entry. And from there, update the transaction. So we add to Sage 100's bill of material processing quantity on work order and required for work order processing based on the routing steps, and we allow it on to use drag and drop scheduling board and schedule the production of those items. So in this case, I'm going to close this. And so now if I just type in that item again, because it's not the only work order, it would automatically bring up the quantity that I was supposed to produce. And if I put a smaller quantity, it will ask me if I want to create the production for the tomorrow. So in a case where if I'm entering my production at the end of the shift, it would let me create a work transaction for the next day, for the next shift. So very easily, system allows me to manage my production and using a drag and drop scheduling board and keep track of quantity of work order and required for work order in the system. So if I come back here, the remaining transactions I can drag and drop. So I have as many scheduling board views as I want. I can create scheduling board views that are hourly. In this case, I've created it to show every 2 hours. From 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I can have other views that are not hourly and just show me daily information, and that no longer will show the date. I can set up the shifts and the dates and times. So what we add to the system as part of this enhancement is also the ability to have shifts and dates. So for each day, we will let the system know what are the available shifts. So when it does the auto scheduling, it would basically handle it using the available hours in each shift. You have plants that could be created, machine codes, work order types, and all of this information is used for auto scheduling the work orders and closing of the work orders. Thank you for the opportunity to show you the product. For more information, please contact us.